another installment of PB&J. We've got picture books and junior fiction. Again, we are, I guess by the time this goes live, our libraries will be open at a limited capacity. So you too can come in and browse, but you can also use these videos to get an idea of some new books we've got. So we'll put into the video when we upload where the J fiction starts. We're going to do picture books first. But we're just super excited about new books that we continue being able to get and bring them in. And even though you may be able to come in and browse, we just want to give you an idea about some of the new stuff we have. So me, Brenda, I'm here, and then Emily from Asheboro, if you want to say a few words.
Hi, I am Emily from Asheboro, and I just want to say, along with being super excited about the new books we're getting in, I also like to grab a couple that maybe we got last year while we were closed, books that I really love that maybe you haven't gotten a chance to see yet because you're more of a browser and haven't gotten the opportunity to kind of browse in this past year. So new to you.
Yeah, there's always, you know, my TBR, my to be read stack just seems to get bigger and bigger, and especially in the J fiction. All right, there's some super cool books coming out, and not only this year, but last year. And it's like this great expansion of characters. You know, graphic novels have become really super popular, but there's this sort of blend of graphic novels with reading levels. And I think it's just really exciting to see how J fiction is moving up into not that they've ever been, you know, harder, you know, I guess a harder level of book, but it's almost like they're expanding the levels of J fiction. And I think really making addressing the different reading levels that are within J fiction. I think that's really exciting. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, just some of like, it's amazing to see how we continue to see new and unique stories being told. And also getting to see how junior novels tackle the difficult issues in life that kids face, because kids do face big problems too. And a lot of times it's easy to think, well, you're just a kid, you don't have to deal with that, the adults are dealing with it. But it's great to see how kids are taking control of their own feelings and their own emotions in these books. So that's something I really like to see, especially in the new books that are coming out.
Yeah, and especially right now, you know, I think there's been a lot of conversations about younger people, especially during the pandemic, that, you know, they feel alone or they feel like they're not you know, not able to control their emotions. But I think a lot of these books, you know, I think it's a great escape and reason to read a book, because you do get to find characters who are like you. And so I think that's great too, that especially in J fiction and even in YA, authors are addressing things like depression and other things that kids are really grappling with right now. And I think that's a great jumping off point for parents and kids to be able to have those books as conversation pieces.
Yeah, and even in picture books as well, we're seeing like handling these heavy questions. And like you said, it's a great escape, but also when it's more realistic fiction, it can be a great way for kids to see a healthy coping mechanism and kind of take it and learn to apply that to their own lives and sort of learn how to handle their emotions or the issues they're facing in a healthy way.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the pandemic, I got a brand new book in yesterday. It hasn't even made it to cataloging yet, but I read it to my kids for our story time. We do a story time on Fridays online, virtual story time, and I couldn't resist. We got Outside Inside, and this is by, I'm gonna butcher the name and I apologize, but it's by Nguyen Pham. And so it's Caldecott honor, and this book almost made me cry. So this is my picture book pick of the week. And why did it almost make me cry? This book is about the last year of our lives in the pandemic. And what is absolutely gorgeous about this book is it talks about that we were all outside. It was almost spring and things were changing. And, you know, there's lots of people And then everybody went inside and there was nothing, and everybody was within their homes. But the emphasis is that this wasn't just happening here, this was happening all over the world, and everybody was experiencing what was going on. And some people were needed, so they talk about that they're doctors and nurses and those people who were delivering food in our postal service, and that. But what happens and happened, and even now as we're continuing into the pandemic, even though we were all in our houses and we were all doing these things, that outside the spring continued to come. So there's flowers in the trees and the plants continue to grow, and that we learned how to do things without touching each other and sharing. And we learned how to wear our masks to protect each other and take care of ourselves. That we also did things in our houses with our families, and we did things inside. And the emphasis is that, outside things kept growing, but even, and I thought this was so good, even inside, even in the last year, especially a lot of our young people, they grew. Our young people grew taller and they grew older, and that we all got to be a little older and we got to change and learn things. We may have lost some people too, so there is a little bit about that, but it's not in a sad, really sad way. So it emphasizes that the inside outside idea, that outside there was so much stuff changing and things going on, but that inside everybody is the same, and that we all have hearts and we all have love and we have people we love, and that we have to remember that spring would come. And just like right now, spring is coming. So even though we've had all these changes and everything that's been going on, it's talking about that inside and outside, how things will come and things will change. And it's just a beautiful, absolutely beautiful book. So we'll get this into processing and you can get this. It's a great, I'm going to get this take home to my 6-year-old who's been asking questions about still being inside and not being able to necessarily spend all the time with his friends. So this is going to be a really great book for us.
Yeah, that's really great. I think one thing is considering like when we're inside so much, it feels like nothing is changing, even if we can see the things outside changing. And so I really like that it showed like them getting taller and marking it, because it just shows that like even if you feel like nothing is changing around you, even you are changing. So I really like that.
So like even my kids this morning, the kids who were with me in story time this morning, they connected to that. Yeah, I did my shirt size. I said, maybe you went up in a shirt size. Maybe you needed to go up in pant size because you got taller. So they really connected with that. And I think that's a great way to see that even though, the world has certainly changed and changing, that even though we were inside and we've continued to do some things, that we're changing too. And that I think it's also a great way to see that it can be good. Change is good.
Yeah. Right. Well, I brought a book called 111 Trees, How One Village Celebrates the Birth of Every Girl. And this is by Reena Singh and Marianne Ferrer. And I chose this book because March is Women's History Month. And so this book is actually about how one gentleman, when he was young, would notice that the births of boys where he lives would be celebrated, but the births of girls wouldn't. And he thought that was kind of strange. So when he later became a leader in the place he lived, the village he lived, he decided to implement something that involved the celebrating of every birth of a girl. And so this book kind of shows you how he started to notice how the girls weren't being treated the same as the boys, and how he decided when he grew up and he became a father that he wanted the girls to be celebrated just as much as the boys were celebrated. And some people in the town where he lived didn't quite agree with what he wanted to do, but he decided that every girl born in the village will be welcomed with the planting of 111 trees. And so this book shows you how how this kind of celebration went from kind of, not sure if we want to do that, to a really celebrated part of this village's life. And what they do is they plant these trees and they decorate them. And we get to see that the girls are being celebrated just as much as the boys. And in the back, we can see some pictures. Here is one of the trees decorated. This is just a really great book on both creating like equal um, equal acknowledgement of boys and girls, acknowledging that they're both super special, and also kind of talking about healing the earth as well by planting these trees. Part of it is part of the reason behind it is because he believes in healing the ecosystem. So not only was he trying to say we should celebrate everyone, boys and girls, but also that we should work on healing the earth at the same time. This is a really beautiful book. It's got beautiful pictures, nice illustration, and in the back it has some more facts about it if you're interested in learning more, and some pictures as well.
It looks like a really sweet book. I wrote it
It's
down.
very cute.
We'll have to get a look at it.
It's very nice. I really like the illustrations, and I definitely, as soon as I picked it up, had to go and look at more pictures of the trees. It's very beautiful, true story. Would definitely recommend it.
Well, if we switch on over to J fiction, I will admit that for St. Patrick's Day this year, I watched the movie Brave. I love that movie. I can't help it. But I was sitting there thinking of when in the movie, they have the wisps. And I was like, wisps. There's a really neat looking book in the J fiction and the new books about a wisp. And so I had to go and double check. And we have the Fabled Stable series with Willa the Wisp. So this book is written by Jonathan Oxier, and the illustrations, which are so fun and so beautiful, are by Olga Demidova. And just take a look at the wisp. Isn't this amazing? And what I love about this, so this book is around probably 6 to 9 years old for readers, grades kind of 1 to 4. What I love though is it's such gorgeous illustrations, and also pretty good, not like super dense text, but I'd say pretty easier reading with wonderful illustrations. And it's so I don't know, it's just so captivating. Like, look at these wild creatures that the little boy attends, including this one. And so it's just got this great tale. And so he loves taking care of all these wild beasts, and they're living in these stables. So here's another one of the, so he helps take care of all these animals in the stables, and they get to run and play. But then he wants to go and help take care of this one where he goes and helps take care of a wisp. And the wisp, let's see, where is it? He has to go out and find the wisp because the wisps are hard to catch. So he's gone out to try to catch the wisp. And it's just this adventurous story about finding the wisp and helping take care of the wisp, because then the bad people don't want to be nice to the wisp. And so it's this very magical, creative design. And I just love the inclusion of such wild animals, creative people. So the somewhat human characters aren't necessarily, human per se. But it's just such a wonderful design for very imaginative and creative. So thinking about wisps and imaginary and fantastical creatures and designs, it's a really fun book that I recommend.
Yeah, I'll absolutely have to check that out. Fantasy is by far my favorite genre, and like the one thing that I miss when I'm reading novels is they describe all this fantastical stuff, and I'm like, what does it look like? I don't understand how what you're describing could look like that. So that's definitely something I'll have to check out because those animals were very cute. A little bit for older readers, but I want to pick this up because you just showed one with pictures, and this one has some pretty neat pictures in it as well. And this is The Collected Works of Gretchen Oyster by Carrie Fagan. And so this book is about a boy named Hartley. His brother runs away, and Hartley is determined to figure out why. This is sort of a mystery book. All he knows is that his brother's going away is somehow connected to all these different cards he's finding with G.O. the initials G.O. on these cards. So what he has to do is try and get his sister to help him find their runaway brother. And they got to figure out who this G.O. person is to do it. Will they find out? I don't know. But the really cool thing about this book is you can see from the cover, it has a really distinct art style. And these images continue to be shown throughout the book, just interspersed. And it's beautiful. You can see that the way the text is set, it almost looks like more of a printed card, sort of like what he's finding to find his brother. And so I haven't had a chance to read this yet, I must admit, but it's definitely on the top of my list. It's a mystery. I want to know who G.O. is so bad just from the summary. I've got to figure out why his brother went missing. So I can't say for sure that I recommend it, but based off of the summary, it definitely sounds like an amazing read.
That does look really fun, and I certainly would pick it up just because of the cover and the artwork.
Well, that's why I picked it up at first, for sure.
Well, likewise, one of the books I picked up was because of the cover when it first came in. This book, it's called Goldie Vance and the Hotel Whodunit. It's by Lillian Rivera. The Goldie Vance series is in graphic novels, so this is in the fiction section. So we're looking at kind of 8 to 12 years, grades 3 to 7. But what's wonderful about this version is that even though we've got text, we've also got these lighter sort of graphic novel images, and we've got bigger images with some graphic novels and also some kind of quotes from the text. So it's this great mix up of images and what's going on, but it's not like just the graphic novels. Graphic novels for me are really hard to read. I actually don't get into graphic novels because I don't know, I can't get into them, but I can totally get the appeal of it. But to me, this is more appealing to be able to see kind of a part of a graphic novel, but have more of the text. What I also love is that, so Goldie Vance is kind of like a Nancy Drew. It's a whodunit, and she just looks like a super fun character. Some of the reviews for the Goldie Vance series say that it's really about like accepting who you are and having the confidence to do and go forward. So she lives in Florida, and she just kind of reminded me of the World War II "we can do it" image of the women who, you know, really went forward and helped out and did things. So she looks like she's got a lot of gumption, and it looks like a really fun series. And so this one particular, you know, she lives in a hotel with her family and helps take care of the hotel. But with her family or with her friends who are in the book, they help solve mysteries. So I, in general, would just be recommending the Goldie Vance series. Have you read any of them, Emily?
They're, as you mentioned before, the to be read list keeps going up. I have them on my list. I have not read them yet, but every time I see a Goldie Vance book, the cover is so stunning. I love the art style. And it's just,
I want to know who that is. Like, who is Goldie Vance? It's so great. So yeah. So that's my other recommend. So,
all right. Now this is one I am currently reading that I'm going to recommend because I'm enjoying it so far. This one is called Greetings from Witness Protection. Now you may be thinking, oh, it's about a family who's in witness protection. Well, kind of. This girl right here, who is not pixelated out, is actually our main character, And she is not a part of this family that we're seeing on the cover, but she'll pretend to be. So, what this book is about is this girl is a street smart girl, wisecracking, knows how to stay safe, knows when to hide. And she is basically hired in by witness protection to stay with this family and keep them safe. And so, this book is kind of about the trials and really the adventure of being a kid who is taking on all this responsibility of protecting this family and getting close to the family and all like the scary things that come with being in witness protection and being responsible for some other people. She's a really tough cookie. Um, and so I would just really recommend this if you want kind of like an adventure with a little bit of like slice of life, realistic fiction. Very, very good.
It looks really fun. Like it kind of turns that idea of witness protection on its head, and
Yeah. When I picked it up, I definitely thought, oh, this is about a family and it's from one of the children's perspective, which it kind of is. But the difference is she's not actually needing to be in witness protection. She's there more as the protection than she is the witness.
Well, that's really cool. Well, thank you, Emily, for sharing books with me this week. This has been a really fun conversation, and I look forward to having our visitors coming and browsing, but I also look forward to continuing sharing because, like we talked about with our book about Outside Inside, we're going to continue keeping ourselves safe and keeping our patrons safe and our families safe. So, and we hope you all stay safe. So we're going to continue doing our virtual conversations and learning, as well as our in-person with people coming back to the library. So thank you for joining me, and I look forward to it again next month.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. And again, just as a reminder, we will put the timestamp. So if you want to go back, picture books start right at the beginning, and junior fiction will have a timestamp somewhere. If there's a book that you were listening about, or you were listening to us talk about, that you want to hop back to, we'll go ahead and put a timestamp there. Or if you want to share it with friends, family, kids, things like that.
All right. Well, thank you so much,
All
Emily. Have a
right.
good weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Bye. Take care.